So what's the answer, Regie Hamm? Where do we go?
Well, there is never an answer to the music business. The art life has always been hard. It's supposed to be hard. It is not supposed to be answered. It wasn't answered for Bach. It wasn't answered for Mozart. It wasn't answered for Beethoven. It wasn't answered for James Brown. It's not going to be answered for anybody else.
This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast, a podcast about Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals.
Yep.
Mostly.
Yes, and as always, got to thank Mr. Matt Wilson for the big voiceover. And check out his podcast, the Mostly Marketing Podcast. This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast, powered by Muletown Bikes. Thanks to those guys. I'm actually, I've dropped, I think, about 10 pounds since I started riding an e-bike, an Aventon e-bike. Check out Vinny and his staff down in Columbia, Muletown Bikes. They're wonderful. And I'm sure they got a ton of Christmas and holiday specials coming up for that season, for gift giving and all that fun stuff. And our show sponsor, our big studio sponsor from the Christian Brothers Automotive of Spring Hill Studios, if you will. My buddy Jason Miller over there, if you have a car that needs to be repaired. His snack game is on point. Downtown Spring Hill, if there is one. He's right in the center, right there. And today is kind of a spontaneous episode. I reached out to a friend of mine. He's been a regular on the podcast in the past about something that's just kind of been marinating and percolating on my head, starting with this morning. As of today, the #1 digital country song is made by an AI artist, and it's an AI song. And it's called Walk My Walk. And today to discuss that is a good friend of mine, as always, Mr. Regie Hamm. Thanks for being here, buddy.
So good to be here. So good to be here with all the...
You keep coming back.
The big voices. Yeah. Why wouldn't I, man?
The last time we saw each other was maybe like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
When you were on the Circling the Drain podcast.
I love being on that. That was great.
They're good. Yeah. Johnny's such a great guy. Jay's they're both great guys.
Yeah.
And doing a great job with their podcast. It's a highlight for me to do that with them.
Yeah.
Because we're all like old radio fogies.
Right.
Just, complaining about radio and the state of it, which kind of ties into this podcast and this episode we're talking about today.
Well, everything's going away, Jim. Everything as we knew it is going away.
Well, you put out a blog today.
Yeah.
Which is what you do.
I do.
And it's interesting because I've had the same exact thoughts regarding what you were basically talking about. With the advent of AI artists, you kind of compared them to Syndrome in The Incredibles.
Yeah.
I've had that same exact sentiment go through my head. Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
When everybody's special, nobody
will be. Yeah.
And it's like, the only thing I kind of push back on is that it still has to be a good song. And does the public really decide what's a good song or not?
Okay. You just heated up for me, Jim.
Okay.
Let's start with the premise of good song.
Right. I
have a theory about that. Now, in like pointy head geeky songwriting circles that I hang out in and have hung out in for the last 30 years, there are varying degrees and views of good song.
Right.
Okay. And what great songwriting is and what hit songwriting is. Now, those are two different things sometimes. You can have a great song that's not a hit song, and you can have a hit song that's not a great song.
Right.
And that happens all the time. My theory is that we have been so inundated with the dopamine hit song. Okay. And what I mean by that is it does everything it's supposed to do when it's supposed to do it. Okay. It does the lift when it's supposed to do the lift, and it hits the hook when it's supposed to hit the hook, and it, the melody raises when it's supposed to. All of these things that we know as craftsmen, songwriters.
There's definitely a psychology to it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there's an art and a science to it.
Right.
Okay. If you analyze a Bach piece of music, there's math behind it. And there's very logical math behind it. It's 4 bars here and 4 bars there, and it does certain things in those bars, and there's mathematics behind a lot of this stuff. And so we, as craftspeople, have learned to craft these quote unquote good songs or radio songs or whatever you want to call it that gives you that, and it's all about dopamine, man. It hits your dopamine at a certain time and in a certain place. A modulation is a dopamine hit. You know what I mean? All of this stuff, when you hear EDM music and it goes,
the bass drops.
It builds for eight bars and then the bass drops. You know, all this stuff this is all dopamine hit. That doesn't mean it's a great song.
Right.
Okay. That means it's doing all the stuff it's supposed to do to get you those little surges. Of course, an artificial intelligence can emulate that and make it perfect, make it happen perfectly. I want to do this though.
Okay.
I just want to read this. If I can get my glasses on here.
Get the readers out.
Yeah.
Breaking rust.
Come gather around people wherever you roam. Admit that the waters around you have grown and accept that soon you'll be drenched to the bone if your time to you is worth saving. And you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone because the times, they are a-changing. Come writers and critics who prophesy with your pen and keep your eyes wide. The chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon for the wheels still in spin. And there's no telling who that it's naming. For the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changing. Okay. That's different than a hit song on the radio.
Oh, much different.
Right?
Yeah.
My theory on this is that we've just gotten so inundated with the radioification, I guess. I don't know if that's a word, by making that word up, of songwriting, that we now hear what AI does to emulate all that. Goes, well, man, it's a good song. Okay, agreed. It's a good song. It does the thing. It does that thing. I was telling you before we started, I hear these Suno songs really all the time. They get sent to me all the time. And it's always the exchange is always from professionals, like some of my pro friends, some of my amateur friends, and everything in between send me these songs. Dude, can you believe this? Can you believe this? And I'm like, yes, I can believe this. It's not blowing my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? What it's doing is it's emulating everything we've decided gives us the dopamine hit at a certain time. And honestly, man, we in a much more perfunctory way, in a much more simplistic way, we've been doing that for a long time.
How many years? Like the last 2 decades?
30.
30
at least
decades?
30 years.
So 90s.
Easily.
Right.
We've been copying and pasting since the 90s. You know, we've been
in all genres, you think?
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've been sampling since the 90s. We've been, you know, and even in the 60s, they were like, if you listen to the guitar solo on I'm trying to think of the Beatles song. I believe it's Hard Day's Night. That they sped that up twice the speed. George Harrison didn't play. I mean, he didn't play that. He played and they sped it up to make it sound. You know, so we've been manipulating this stuff for 50 years, 60 years.
That I did not know.
Yeah. I mean, the Beatles did so many of these things. The Beatles did so much breakthrough, you know, recording work that we basically do it in a box now, but they did it on tape and with, you know, machines all in the room. So, I mean, we've been manipulating this stuff a long time, and we've been tuning vocals for, you know, almost 40 years. And even before we had tuning programs, there was a thing you could put in your rack that would kind of catch pitches and
a Melodyne. right?
Well, Melodyne is the tool now, but yeah, there was a thing, I can't remember the name of it, but there was an actual piece of gear that did it.
Get you right in the ballpark.
It would get you in the ballpark. Yeah, right. Exactly. So when I hear when people send me stuff and say, "Man, can you believe this?" It's like, yeah, I can believe it. I mean, because it's just building on all the stuff we've already been doing.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I didn't know this before, but I think I'm starting to learn that people didn't realize how far ahead we've been in the technological recording space.
Right.
You know, we've been way down the road in being able to do stuff for a long time. You know, you've been able to record your vocals, you know, in a hotel room for decades.
Yeah.
You know, we've been able to phone stuff in and fly stuff in and fly it around. And
there's ISDN. You could have somebody in LA recording in New York.
We've been doing that for 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, I had ISDN lines in my studio in Franklin back, 2000.
Yeah.
1999, 1998.
Well, voiceover people, they have Source Connect. I guess that's the new.
Yeah.
I don't know if they use that for vocal tracking or whatever, but yeah.
So that all that to say, I mean, this next progression makes sense to me, but here's where it gets scary. Where it gets scary is it's so professionally there now. I just like singing into your phone or your iPad or whatever, your computer, type it in, and now you've got breaking rust.
Right.
And what I think is happening with that is I think somebody's just manipulating the algorithms. 2.5 million listens, but are there really 2.5 million? You know what I mean? Or is it just like robots listening to robots because somebody's like geeking with the algorithm?
Well, it's making, is this the first time this has surfaced? I mean, it is today that it actually, we're recording on November 14th. This will probably be coming out the following Friday. Is this, I just saw and I just can't pop.
It's the first number one.
Right.
Okay. In the business sector.
Because I saw the news article today.
Yeah.
And
it's the first number one of this kind. Now there have been AI bands out. They've been putting them out all year.
Yeah.
And there have been AI artists getting signed. That's been happening all year. You know, it's been brewing over there.
Signed to what? That's the other thing. It's like, what is record labels? I think they're the first. What do we need you for anymore?
Well, okay. And there you go.
Yeah.
And so here's what's going to happen somewhere. I don't know if all of them are going to do this, but just imagine this. Okay. You own the mechanism that can get something on the radio. A number one radio song, let's say a top 10 radio song, will bring in $1 million on the pop charts. Country, it may be 2 million on the pop charts, maybe $1 million in the country charts.
For royalties,
performance royalties.
Right.
Okay. Let's say you get you get about $6,000 for every million spins on Spotify.
Right.
Or Apple Music. Apple Music pays a little bit more, but the DSP space.
Right.
Okay, so let's say you can make that happen, but you don't have to have a human attached to it.
Right.
Why in the world would you not do that?
That's what I've been saying. It's like, what's stopping Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon from creating just departments?
Exactly.
We're going to create our own artists.
We've got the mechanism. We're paying the royalties anyway. Why don't we pay them to us?
We don't need the royalties at all. We don't have to pay anything. Because, I mean, that's the other thing. I have this conversation right here. I'm privy to these conversations with other songwriters. They're still so hell-bent on the radio aspect of it. I'm going, guys, music radio is dying, if at all. It's
but Jim, it's
dead.
the only place we make money.
I get that. I understand.
It's the only place that you can still make a decent.
Because they're paying the licensing to ASCAP and BMI to use the music, so on and so forth. That's how and they measure the spins and stuff like that.
That's right.
But what happens when radio runs out of money? And they are.
Right.
Well,
everybody is.
Yeah.
And
or it's going elsewhere.
It is. A friend of mine several years ago tried to put a new app together, a new format. And when he was doing all the due diligence, and by the way, if he had gotten it off the ground, it would have changed the world, not just music business. But, the problem was it was very democratized, and there was no space for anyone to become a billionaire.
Yeah.
There was space for hundreds of people to become millionaires, maybe thousands of people. But there was no space at the top for someone to invest $600 million and get $3 billion back.
Right.
And that's what you need.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's how you have to do it. But as he was doing all the due diligence for this, he said that they estimate there's somewhere between 10 and $20 billion a year on the sidelines that just doesn't go into the music space anymore. It's just sort of dissipated into the other places.
Because everybody can just stream it now.
Exactly.
It's like Netflix.
Right.
So
where that money used to go directly into, I got to buy this CD, I got to buy this tape or whatever. Now it's, I can use this money for DoorDash. I can use this money for Uber Eats. I can use it. Just goes elsewhere, and there's just a fraction of that money that goes into the music space, and because of that, Daniel Ek can be a billionaire, and the rest of us are making $6,000 per million streams if we can even get to that.
Right. And
we're all fighting each other trying to get, above the noise because the entry level now is $0. It doesn't cost you anything to put something on Spotify. So,
everybody's special.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's special. So no one.
I am Vinny Tavares. I'm the owner of Milltown Bikes, right in the heart of Columbia, Tennessee, on the square. And we're here to serve the community. We have bicycles from kids to adults, e-bikes, mountain bikes, road bikes. We run a repair shop. So I am the third generation of this current bike shop. It's been here since the 70s. It's a historical building. It's an integral part of the downtown community in Columbia. We got customers here coming in and talking that they got their very first bike here. So the reception has been great. Everybody's been super friendly, super welcoming. A lot of the old customers that been coming here for generations now still come here. They're now my customers, and I have a huge responsibility to continue to carry that legacy and that passion forward.
Hi, I'm Jason Miller. I'm the owner of Christian Brothers Automotive here in Spring Hill, Tennessee. We fix cars here, both European and domestic, from simple oil changes to complete engine rebuilds and replacements. Most important thing, though, is while you're waiting, we've got the best snack game in town, and we invite you to make yourself at home and get to know us, and we treat you like family. We're located right across the street from Walmart on Highway 31 right here in Spring Hill. Let us know that you heard about us on this ad, and we'll give you 10% off your next oil change. So stop on in and see us in downtown Spring Hill. Do we even have a downtown in Spring Hill?
It's like I love the differentiation you made between a good song and a hit song.
Yeah.
Hit song doesn't necessarily equate a good song.
That's right.
A good song is obviously subjective. This morning we were listening to, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, another Auld Lang Syne by Dan Fogelberg popped in my head.
That's a great song.
Amazing song.
Yeah.
When it was true artistry and it told a story. I was having the conversation with my daughter. We brought her back to school this past Sunday, or at least I did. And she was showing me her examples of story songs. I said, well, okay, here's a story song. And I put on Coward of the County.
Yeah.
I said, that tells a story.
Yeah.
It has a beginning, a conflict, and a resolution. That's what I'm meaning. She was thinking, she was more like, well, hey, this guy did me wrong, and therefore,
right.
I'm going to, that was the story, but it was more of a situational, I guess.
And there's no stakes. That's what I always kind of lament. I mean, look, I'm not here to ever bash Taylor Swift at all.
No, this wasn't Taylor Swift, though.
But
she's big on that.
But there is a Swiftification in that we have lowered the stakes. It's almost like these Hallmark Christmas movies. It's like the conflict. It's like, is there conflict here? Because the stakes are so low.
Right.
Okay. Coward of the County had gang rape and attempted murder.
Right.
The stakes are as high as it gets.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's different too.
Yeah.
And I think when you talked about another Auld Lang Syne, would AI say our tongues were tired?
Right. It's an interesting.
Would it know to say our tongues were tired? You know what I mean?
Because it was such an odd.
Has it ever been to that place where you're like literally our
so much innuendo in that one too?
Yeah, exactly. But I feel that, right? I've had those conversations where it's like, man, my tongue is kind of tired.
Right.
Right. But would AI know that?
And the other thing I wrote down here, the other thing that AI doesn't know is the story behind the song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this is something, forgive me, you know, I've been a huge fan of yours since we've met back in 2008, but I think a majority of it was from that American Dreams album.
Mm-hmm.
I've been listening, again, apologize.
What are you apologizing for? You're listening to my music.
I'm listening to your music.
There's nothing to apologize
You've
for.
earned at least 4 cents off of me. But all the way back from Chattanooga, I listened to a majority of your catalog, whatever came up.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, it's almost sad because it's like, that's good songwriting. And I'm not just blowing smoke.
Well,
that's good songwriting. Like, you know, you can hear a song by somebody who wants to be a good songwriter, or you sometimes even on the radio, you hear them.
Yeah.
Radio, gosh, go figure.
Again.
But you could tell there's a little bit of a tinge of amateur hour in there.
Yeah.
Dude, every one of your songs is like, that's a good song. That's a good song. Not trying to, you know, blow smoke and all that stuff. But that's when I say in my Facebook post, when we promoted that episode for Circling the Drain, I said, you know, Regie Hamm truly is, let me pull it up here. Here it is. After a career in songwriting with over 21 number one hits, I entered a songwriting contest for $10. That was a quote from you. And I qualified. I said, Regie Hamm is probably one of America's most sensible modern day philosophers. Because, I mean, you kind of pivoted that way, especially with your blog.
Yeah, I did.
You don't have like a vehement line in the sand, left versus right mentality. I mean, I know you kind of lean right.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of your viewpoints are they're just sensible. And I think they're actually more uniting than dividing. And I said his song catalog ought to be woven into the historical fabric of this country. There was another thought that went into that, and I was like, I just don't know how to really construct it into this. For some reason, it's like, dude, you're almost like a modern day Mark Twain. I don't know if that makes sense. You know,
wow, keep talking, Jim.
But I'm seriously,
you're
it's
making me
you know, not just
good
because
about myself.
I know you. I know good songwriters. I know the songs that they've written.
Well, look, okay, I'm going to just say this. All I will say about that is I am a product of Nashville songwriting in its like highest form.
Right.
Not me. I'm talking about the people I studied here and got to write with here and got to hang out with. And, you know, for those of us whose life was the art and craft of songwriting, now so 24-year-old Regie or 22-year-old Regie, I think I came back to town when I was 21 or 22. If that kid comes to town now,
turn that car around.
yeah, exactly. His life is, you got to study the craft of songwriting, but you also have to study the craft of content creation, and you also have to study the craft of the algorithm, and you also have to study the craft of and it's like 4 other things before you can even really get in the door.
Right.
I mean, when I got here, it was, you know, learn them blues, baby. You better learn how to do what you're doing. So, I mean, I just feel like, I remember the first time I went to the Bluebird and heard, you know, Jim Rushing and Carl Jackson and Larry Cordell and Jerry Salley, and, you know, just sat there and went, I can't stay here. You know, I have to go now. You know, I got to go to Indiana. I got to live there. You know, I can't live here. But where the bar is just so high, and I'm talking about the nuance. The bar of nuance is so high. That's I think the thing that's bothered me the most about the AI stuff is they're getting you a good melody, they're getting you a lyric you can sing to, they're getting you all of the dopamine stuff. What they're probably not getting you, and I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah,
maybe somebody is. Why I read The Times They Are Changing, little inner rhymes, you know, things that the weird little pen strokes that you hear in great songwriting. That our tongues were tired. That kind of a line, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you know, 4 or 5 words and it evokes.
Everyone gets it.
You know, it opens doors to worlds that, you know, you smell perfumes that you remembered. And, you know, that's the kind of songwriting that I always aspired to. And it's the kind of songwriting that I heard and was around when I was, writing for publishing companies and all that. So
I could barely see the road from the heat coming off it.
well, that's actually true though.
That's a word picture.
It's absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So, I mean, I'm trying to say thank you, but I'm also trying to say I owe whatever ability in that regard, I think, to this town and what it was. I posted something today from a guy that really gets it. I don't even know who it was that originally posted it, but talking about what old Nashville was.
Yeah.
And I say old Nashville, I'm talking about the 90s, the 80s, the 90s, and what we were trying to do in this town.
Jason Wilburn.
Yeah.
Nashville didn't die.
Yeah. It just changed clothes.
Yep.
So, and I'm not a hater on new music, man. I last night was like all the way down the rabbit hole on this. I think the guy's name is Russell Dickerson. I want to say he's got the song out. You happen to me, or you're going to happen to me, or
is he a real guy?
No, he's a real guy. He's a real guy, and I love what he's doing on socials. I love his TikTok campaigns and all that. It's fun. It's like, man, I get that. I absolutely get why people would love that. I love it. It's fun. It's just a good time. It's like he's a good time, and all of that. So I'm not that guy that's like, well, it was better back in my day. But I will tell you this: if you sat in a round, with Don Henry and Craig Carruthers and people like that, I mean, you'd better have something other than your latest radio single. You'd better have something a little deeper than, not a little, a lot deeper than that, or you're going to lose the night.
Right.
And I've seen that happen to guys, where they've got a couple of, hits out and they get in a round with some stone killers, and it's like by the third round, they're like, I am underwater, because I know how to do this at one level, but these guys are doing it at a whole other level. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of songwriting I love. And I don't see that kind of songwriting happening on AI. Unfortunately, that's not the kind of songwriting we have made famous.
I got you.
I think that's what I'm trying to say. We haven't made that famous.
Have you listened to this song at all?
I've heard
some pieces?
Most of it.
Do you want to go through it and maybe break it down?
I don't.
You don't know. You don't want to.
I don't. And I'll tell you why I don't. And here's what I'm going to tell you. What's happening with this thing is people are talking about it.
Right.
And that's how it's getting all the spins and all the listens. And that's how it's becoming what it's becoming.
Is it actually on the radio too?
I don't know if it's on the radio. It's digital.
Yeah.
It's digital.
So streaming mainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's because people are talking. Somebody's manipulating that algorithm. They know exactly what they're doing. Mm. And I think it's probably some 15-year-old kid somewhere.
And they got the publicity to back it up.
They've got people like us talking about it.
Right.
The way I deal with AI right now, again, I'm not really against it. I just don't think about it that much. I don't talk about it that much.
Right.
I only talk about it because I have to. It's like the old thing. It's like, man, I'm addicted to this TV. It's like, well, you can turn it off. I'm addicted to these bonbons. You don't have to buy them. Like, no one's forcing you to buy bonbons.
It's not fun, but
so I just choose to go, man, I get what it does. I know exactly what it does. Mm-hmm. I understand everything it's processing, and I don't need to know any more than that. And I don't. Well,
you're just doing you at this point, and it's what you're good at, and you have a good fan base. The blog has had a fan base as well.
I have a very loyal fan base.
You really do.
I don't have a big one, but a very loyal one.
It's I wouldn't say narrow, but it's a good size, but it's deep.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's a tough thing to get to.
Is it?
Oh yeah. Because dude, I mean, it's like, I don't know what my problem is. I'll post something on Facebook and it's like crickets. But unless it's like a picture of me or my family or something like that, and that's maybe what resonates, or the algorithm kind of ticks off, kind of puts it out there based on that. But if I'm ever going to be putting out something like, hey, check out this clip from this podcast where we talk about blah, you try to make it at least somewhat have stickiness to it. Nothing on Facebook. It's weird.
You know what's weird, dude? Like, I don't get any traction when I post music. Zero.
Interesting.
Like, not like a little, like zero.
And let's bring it up while we're talking. You have a Kickstarter going on right now.
I do. Yeah.
That when this comes out, it'll be done on Monday, 24th?
The 25th.
25th. Okay, Tuesday. And let's make sure everybody listening, if you haven't heard of them before, listen to the first couple tracks that come up on, dare I say, Spotify, and listen to the American Dreams album. Trust me. Okay. Listen to American Dreams, the song. Just a great tune, a really good tune. Tells a story, uses really evocative imagery, the whole 9 yards, and then go to the Kickstarter and do what you can. I would, but I'm hemorrhaging money right now.
Well,
so
most people are, and I get it. And really what I wanted to do with this, and I put it off for all year.
Yeah.
And finally, I realized in October, if I don't do this now, I can't do it until like maybe spring of next year.
Right.
But I just wanted to do a great listening party. And I wanted to, finish the mixes and do a great listening party out at Dark Horse Studio. We did one with the last record, and it was great, and everybody had a great time.
I couldn't come to that. I think I was out of town.
You were out of town. Yeah. But it was, and I think there were like 200 people there. So I've limited this one to about 100.
Mm-hmm.
And they took up I didn't ask for it, but someone like voluntarily went around and started collecting cash from people at the, we need to pay this man, and they handed me all this money at the end of it. And I was like, I didn't need this. I don't want this. This time I decided, look, let's give it an entry fee. So when you get there, it's going to be catered. There'll be drinks. It's going to be a great event at a world-class iconic studio. And you've already paid your ticket price. You don't have, there won't be any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I do that. All of the tiers, all of the rewards are experiential. So either you get the record or you get the record with all the voice memos that show you how all these songs started. Most of them, I think I have most of them. And then there's the listening party. That's $100 buy-in. There's 100 of those. And then there's like an hour consulting thing. And then there's like a 3-hour writing session with me. And then there's a house concert. It's all experiential. There's not a lot of like swag stuff.
This is the listening party you're talking about.
The listening party I'm talking about. And that's really all I want out of this record is just a great, hey, the friends and fans come out. There'll be like 3 sets of 30. We'll do it on a Saturday, and we'll start it at like 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll go from 11 to 1, listen to the record, talk about it, whatever, have lunch. And then another group will come in at like 2, and we'll do that till like 4. And then another group will come in at 5, and we'll finish up around 7 or 8. So
it's a full day.
It's a full day, but
for you,
that's which I'm fine with. I love that. But that's all I want out of this. I'm not trying to, it is what it is at this point, man. Like the songs are going to do what they do, or they're not,
Sure.
But you're also up against, 200,000 songs a day going up on Spotify. And now with AI, they could put 1 million songs a day up if they want to.
Right.
And I'm telling you, this is all about people behind the scenes, manipulating the algorithms, because they know wherever the money gets generated, that's where they're manipulating. And if you can do this without humans,
less money.
Exactly. Or if you can sit back there and go, look, I can prompt 50 songs on an account, put them up on Spotify, and I can geek with the algorithm, and I can get 2 million listens a month. That's $10,000 a month you could make. And you're not even a musician, and people are probably doing that.
That's crazy. I was about to wonder, what it equates to. And
it's just, that could be a side hustle for you if you can find ways to,
full-time income.
Yes.
For most,
so
a lot of people.
It's weird for people like me who've spent my entire life dedicated to this, to look at that and go, that's a possibility. But I know that it is. And I know that's probably what's happening with this Breaking Rust. It's some variation of that.
Yeah.
It's either like a label testing the water to see if they can do it, or it's some app testing the water to see if they can do it. Trust me, it's somebody somewhere is going, hey, I wonder if we can do this. And then they did it.
That's an interesting play too. I never thought about that. Record labels doing this because they're
That's
developing
what I'm saying.
artists.
They're the ones who they would make the money, but they wouldn't have to pay any royalties to anybody.
Well, that's what I was thinking. With Spotify, they could just cut out the record companies altogether because they're the primary delivery mechanisms of this music.
Right.
So then all of a sudden you have, like John and I talked about it before, my business partner. He says, if you have a producer in Sweden that, why would he just commit to Spotify when he can do across all the big three? I said, well, unless somebody comes up and gives him a huge payday and says, hey, your next album, maybe we kind of theme it and then put it out like a director would on Netflix or something like that. You could add an Adam Sandler that puts out a slew of movies as Netflix originals.
Right.
I think that's coming down the pike. Spotify.
I'm sure. Well, first of all, that has happened in other little packaged forms. I mean, people are constantly like investigating Spotify for stuff like this.
Yeah.
For this very thing. Like, hey, we want to flood this side of the algorithm with this kind of music. Can you get us this kind of music?
Right.
Make no mistake, Spotify is not in the business of paying royalties to creators. That's not the business they're in. They're in a delivery business, and if they can, like you say, cut out all of the royalties that have to be paid, they absolutely will.
Oh yeah.
Just they didn't do this because they loved. I mean, Daniel Ek can publicly say, I did this because I used to use Napster when I was a kid, and I just wanted it to be, I wanted to create a place where people could get paid for that. That's, he created a $1 billion cash cow for himself. And the inconvenience of it is that he has to deal with people like me.
Right.
If he doesn't have to deal with people like me, he won't. So if you got 150,000 breaking rests out there and everybody loves it and goes, you know what? I like this just as well as anything else that's out there.
Shuts down an entire industry.
It shuts down everybody. That's it for me, And I think where I am on it now is you talked about my fan base. I mean, if I've got 200 people out there who want to hear what I do, then I only care about them.
Right.
I really don't care about anybody. I care about those people deeply. And basically what I'm saying to them is, and what I think most indie artists like myself are saying is, okay, guys, let's see if we can make this work with just us.
That's what I was going to ask. What's the pivot?
Yeah. It's me going to my people who consume my blogs and my music every day and going, guys, I hate doing this. You have no idea how bad I hate doing this, but I got a Kickstarter. So let's see if we can get Reg paid for a little bit with this. And that'll keep me being able to do this, every year.
Are you familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk?
Oh yeah.
Is that's the whole right, jab, 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 right hook model is what you're doing.
Yeah.
You've given so much over the years and you're coming with a right hook. Be like, hey, you're asking.
Yeah. I give away tons of content.
Yes.
Man. I give away so much and I don't mind doing it, but then you come with an ask and you're just like, and so it always goes back to, I've probably got, 4,000 or 5,000 emails that I can go directly to.
Yeah.
And it usually, when I think about a campaign, I'm not worried about going viral on TikTok. I'm not worried about going viral on Facebook or X or any of that. My first thought is, let me talk to these 4,000 or 5,000 people directly.
Yeah. There's your audience.
Because these people somehow are invested in what I do. And honestly, I'm kind of invested in them.
Yeah.
So many of these, I don't even call them fans, Jim. These people are my friends. I know so much about, quote unquote fans. I know about their kids. I know about their families. I know what they're going through. I text these people, daily. I get private messages from them. I love seeing that come through.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know if you remember my husband, Jake, but we were, it's like, yeah, of course I remember, so as much as my brain will remember and retain about all of the people who have somehow invested in what I do, I try to, and just try to remain friends with everybody rather than, this being like a audience performer relationship. I feel like we're all kind of walking the journey together, and I just happen to be kind of a spokesman for it, in word and in music.
With great power, man.
You've got all the Captain America,
I know.
all the paraphernalia.
Nothing Spider-Man though, oddly enough.
You don't have any Spidey?
No
Spidey? Yeah,
Spider-Man
you got a Spidey right there. That's what I was looking at right there.
Oh yeah, on the
periodic table.
the
Marvel
periodic table.
Yeah.
I think I might have a Funko Pop. Yes, I do. My kids give me the Funko Pops.
There you go.
But it's interesting that you say that because I've always had a hunch, and you and I might have discussed this in the past. What's stopping an artist? One of the things we talked about in Circling the Drain was I write down topics as we produce the podcast, and one of them came up. I'm like, why are record labels even needed anymore? You know, an artist, especially as everything goes towards AI, an artist can just go like, all I need to do is build an audience.
Yeah.
And then, my distribution, I guess that's the only thing that has to be figured out because I don't want to put it on Spotify in the big three. So what does the distribution look like and how is it easy for the consumer?
Where do you put it then?
That's what I'm trying to but maybe that's where the answer is.
It actually is, but that's a pretty big answer.
It is a big answer.
You don't need labels. I mean, labels are obsolete and they know that they are. They've
like radio stations.
I mean, honestly, labels have been obsolete for years.
Right.
If I have so many friends who are high profile people, famous people, and every time one of them their record deal would be coming up, I would always pull them aside and be like, why are you going back to that? Everybody knows who you are.
Right.
That's what the label's for. You've already gotten, do this yourself.
Right.
Hire someone out of Belmont who majored in this in college and pay them $60,000 a year. They will walk over glass for you, and they'll do a better job for you than any record label on Music Row will.
Right.
But I will tell you, very often a record label will make you an offer you can't refuse.
But where are they getting the money from?
Well, because they have bought the back end of these DSPs.
Mm-hmm.
They're making more money than they ever have because they are part owners in Spotify.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah. So it's the very definition of conflict of interest. Basically.
So it's like the snake eating its own tail.
It's essentially what it is. So when the DSPs came online and they went to the labels and said, "Hey, we need your masters and we need it for a certain amount of money to be able to make this price point work." The labels looked at it and went, "Well, but that's not really going to work for us. But I'll tell you what would work for us.
Give us a piece.
Give us a piece."
Yeah.
And that's what they did. So then the labels go and discount their rates, or they create whatever the rate is that needs to be created to make it work for the DSPs.
Wow.
And the labels don't really care because they're making money on the back end.
How common is this knowledge?
I thought everybody knew this.
You're on the inside. I'm a layman. I mean, I'm close enough to know enough to be dangerous, but when it comes to what you're talking about, I had no idea.
I thought everybody knew that.
No.
So
I could just be dense. That's very possible.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, man. When you start getting into the weeds in the music business, people start looking at their watches.
Yeah.
And when you start talking about this stuff, I'll tell you, I can give you a whole soliloquy on why the songwriting business in particular kind of went away with streaming. And it has to do with the government, and it has to do with copyright laws in 1909. It has to do with piano rolls. It has to do with, Hoyt Axton, and it has to do with all. There's a whole story behind it.
Piano rolls? Do you mean like for player pianos?
Yeah, for player pianos.
Okay, gotcha.
And I can tell you why that converged at streaming, and it basically took 80% of the professional songwriters in Nashville, put them out of business. Not just in Nashville, but in Nashville, LA, New York. But it's such a boring story for anybody who doesn't do it, that it's so hard for them to follow, and it would be incredibly hard for me to follow if I didn't do it professionally.
It's almost like, you ever see the movie The Big Short?
I haven't seen it, but I've seen tons of clips, and it's like on my list. I need to see this.
It's a great movie that explains the 2008 meltdown, the financial meltdown. Yeah. It really not dare I say dumbs it down, but it really kind of makes it make sense, because Wall Street and the bankers for so long purposely made it complicated.
Right.
All the different products that they offer, they wanted to make them sound complicated, and they do. To the common ear, it really does sound like, I need to hire somebody to help me do all this. I know I need to do it. I just don't have the time to really invest and learn about it. It's almost like something similar. Like there has to be a movie to explain that concept.
Oh, 100%, or a documentary. Yeah. Honestly, I've been trying to do this. I don't know if you remember when the Ghost Town Troubadours, me and 3 other songwriters were out.
We had talked about maybe like going out on the road and documenting.
Yeah, well, we did. We went out and documented the whole tour in 2016, and we talked about all of this, but it just didn't. We just couldn't get it off the ground. But I have a theory on the complication thing. Mm. Things get really complicated when they are very simple. Wow. Nothing is incredibly complicated until it's incredibly simple. And the thing about streaming and music and streaming and all of that stuff, the thing that makes it so complicated is the fact that it's so simple. And the simplicity is the streaming model does not work. It never worked. It works for 5 people.
Right.
But it doesn't work for everybody, and it never did.
It never will.
And it can't. And also, by the way, it doesn't work for the visual medium either. They're finding that out as well. Mm-hmm. That's why you pay $20 a month for Netflix, and you also have to watch commercials or whatever, right. Because they realize, oh yeah, this doesn't really work the way, at least not in the way where we can keep everybody in the fold. Yeah. Nashville is under this great, I don't know what the word would be. Nashville's wearing this great, beautiful mask where you're seeing all these young songwriters who you think are making $70,000, $80,000 a year to do their craft. They're probably making less than 10, and they're driving Uber at night, and they're doing DoorDash, and they're working at Starbucks. And you think, oh, well, they're all doing fine. No, they're not. They're not in a system that I was in. I was one of those making, just to start it, just getting in the door, making 25, 30 grand a year.
Yeah.
And then you could make 6 figures, even if you didn't have a hit every year, you could do that because that much money was flowing through the mechanism.
Well, you had the mechanicals coming.
Exactly.
I do know.
The mechanical license is the thing that went away.
Because that's where CDs and all the physical, tangible product was.
Buying price per unit.
Right.
And once price per unit was gone, and we, instead of buying price per unit, we started renting in bulk. And the government set the price for price per unit in 1909. So the statutory rate, RATE, statutory rate, is what was having to be paid to songwriters. We're the only trade group in the history of the United States that has always been regulated and our rates regulated by the U.S. Congress. And then once it went to price, from price per unit to renting in bulk, there was no mechanism for it. There literally was no mechanism for getting paid. It was like falling off a cliff. The songwriters had no, and when it started, I mean, now with the Music Modernization Act that came online in 2018, we at least have a seat at the table. But when streaming first came online, we had no recourse. We legally had no recourse to go, hey, you guys have to pay us this.
Right.
So it was a little bit like the rubber barons in the 1920s, where they just went down there and got all the rubber, at slave labor costs because there was no mechanism in place to pay these people.
Right.
That's what happened to songwriters. It's like the DSPs looked at the labels and said, hey, what do we pay the songwriters? And the label said, we'll take care of them. We always take care of them. Mm-hmm. And they just prorated it. They prorated a statutory rate that had been created by Congress in the first place that was arbitrary. It was based on nothing. And they tried to take that rate and prorate it to what a spin would be worth, purchase versus a sale. It's, they came up with some kind of algorithmic, and never did anybody sit down with the writers and the publishers and go, but how will this actually work for you? They just said, this is what you get. I get 0.00034 cents a spin. Mm-hmm. So if I get 1 million spins, I make $34. Yes. And then I have to split that with, if I co-write it, I got to split,
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't mean to go down that rabbit hole, but that's the problem. That was the main problem with streaming.
Yeah.
Now, if you own your masters, you can make more money. That's a different conversation, but that was never regulated by Congress. That's what was decided out in the free market.
Does your garage door sound like this? If it does, it's screaming for help. Call Incredible Doors, 931-348-DOOR. We're making garage doors in Murray and Williamson counties work better and sound better. We just make them incredible again. Go to IncredibleDoors.com or call 931-348-DOOR. Follow us on Facebook for specials on maintenance visits, keypads, and other items. 931-348-DOOR. IncredibleDoors.com. So what's the answer, Regie? Where do we go?
Well, there is never an answer to the music business. Let me say that I don't come bearing any answers to the music business. The art life has always been hard. It's supposed to be hard. It is not supposed to be answered. If it gets answered, then you're not making art anymore. It wasn't answered for Bach. It wasn't answered for Mozart. It wasn't answered for Beethoven. It wasn't answered for James Brown. It's not going to be answered for anybody else. You just have to you got to look at what's happening, and you just got to go, okay, this is what's going to work for me, or I'm going to see if this will work for me. And like I said, where I am is I just look at the people who follow what I do, buy into what I do, and that's my tribe, man. That's my family. That's who I make the music. I don't really make the music for anybody. I make the music for me.
Yeah.
But I say these are the people who would probably support it. They might like it. They might not. I mean, I had a couple of people review. I had all my patrons review the new record if they wanted to. And, we got some mixed reviews. Some really good friends comment on, you can just say, it's not your best record. I think it is. I think it's the best record I've ever done. But, who knows? And
the record's called Beautiful Tragedy.
Beautiful Tragedy, yeah.
Does a Kickstarter kind of dictate the release, or is it all really?
Yeah. Okay. So if we fully fund, then it's really about trying to figure out when the listening party should happen. I'm assuming it would probably be early spring of 2026,
right? So
that people who are out of town could make arrangements to get to town. I'm looking for a Saturday.
You're looking at me, aren't you?
Well, you were out of town last time, Jim.
I was.
I've got to get you here this time. But for the people who want to come, it's some people are actually talking to flying in from Iowa. So I got to make sure that I want to be responsible to sensitive to all their schedules. Yeah. And if we can find a day that works for everybody, that's when we'll do it. And then after that's done, after we've had that kind of communion, with it, then I'll decide what part of them I'm going to release. There are going to be some songs I'm not going to release,
right?
That are just part of, that you got to be in the family to have heard that.
Do you have songs that are sitting in a drawer? Like when I had Neil Thrasher and Kalo on,
every songwriter in Nashville does, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, we got
ideas.
We've got. Scott got in a fight with me online because he's talking about Prince having 2,000 songs in a vault. Now, Prince has them fully mixed and mastered and has a video to all of them. But I said, dude, everybody in Nashville's got 2,000 songs in a vault, Yeah. I probably don't have that many. I probably have, I don't know how many I got sitting around. I don't write as much as I used to, but I've got plenty that are sitting around.
Well, it's like writing the song. I would imagine, I guess it can be an arduous process to those who don't know what they're doing. To me, it would be. I had an idea for a song that came out of a podcast. I'm like, ooh, that's a good title. And, I went through the whole 3 scenario presentation of it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Put it in the AI app, and it actually did a fairly good job. Nothing perfect by the any stretch of the imagination.
But you know what? This is where I like that stuff. That gives you,
right.
I don't mind that. That doesn't bother me. It's like, man, you get to express yourself. And I don't think you should withhold that from people. That's right. A tool there. You go in there and you're like, man, I think I know how to say this, but here, computer, help me a little bit. You know, I don't see what's wrong with that. As long as we don't start conflating that, what I fear is that there's going to be some people who have pretty high functioning talent who've decided
to phone it in.
I can just eliminate,
Right.
70% of everything I do, and we won't know the difference. And we probably won't.
Now, here's the thing: is where AI also misses is the live music component. Where a lot of these now, it's like literally we might be witnessing the last of a dying breed of artists as we know it, but there's still the live music component.
Yeah.
That if you have a band that just, hey, you're in your 20s, you want to make a go for it and do the touring thing, and then it's all based on somewhat of a meritocracy. Maybe you have ways for them to click a QR code and add it to a list of sorts, or a medium that's just human only music.
Yeah.
Human made, and maybe that's the next streaming and DSP to your terminology.
Certified human.
Certified human.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, that I think that could be a thing.
I think it will. I think it'll be a thing in the next year, honestly.
Yep.
But then they'll have to get into, okay, like I said in my blog, okay, I played every instrument on my new record.
Yeah.
Quote unquote played. But I played all the drums, but there were no drums struck with sticks. They were all samples.
Right.
So did I play them? Right. Is that human? Is that certified human?
Well, you're hitting keys on a keyboard.
I'm hitting keys on a keyboard,
Yeah.
but is that certified? You know what I mean? So then you could really get into the weeds on that.
You could. I guess, certified human, I guess you could probably draw the line at, look, did you go to an app and just plug in the information and it spits it out
Right.
for you? Singing it, not necessarily playing, because everybody, they've been doing that for decades.
Right.
Sampling and stuff like that. But when it comes to the human element, even going farther back than that, sitting in a studio, take the click and throw it out,
Yeah.
and just be human.
Right.
Play it. You put Hot for Teacher on a freaking click track, it vacillates.
Yeah.
Okay. It's imperfect.
Right.
I think imperfection is going to make a comeback.
I do too. I totally agree with you on that. I think it's going to be a
People
thing
are going to
where,
crave it.
yeah, they're gonna like sour notes. We're not going to fix like bad notes anymore, and
Yeah.
we're not going to fix. We're going to leave a clam or two here because that'll be like endearing. That'll be an endearing quality.
Because in your blog, you even talked about the last, note of Born in the USA.
Yeah, when he's doing
That's a great example. Yeah.
and you can hear him failing. He's almost not making it, and it's wobbling.
Yeah.
But man, it gives you chills.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because you
it's
could see him.
you can feel the sweat in
Yes.
that. You know what I mean?
He's giving it his all.
It's like he's leaving it on the floor. He's leaving it on the stage, and that's where I don't think you get that from AI.
No. Until we do.
Yeah, right. So yeah, exactly.
But the David Lee Roth and Running with the Devil.
Yeah,
All the imperfections in that. That's what made that song.
yeah.
I think there's gonna be, you watch. I'm telling you, it's like, I wanted this episode to be almost like predicting the future. Let's prognosticate. I think live bands, and if you're primarily a live band that's out there, being road warriors and stuff like that, I think you have a leg up.
Well, I'm going to, so I'll leave you with this. Obviously, anytime a format changes in music, there's always tumult around it. When the phonograph came out, I've read where musicians thought it was the end of the world. He's like, what do you need us for now? They can take the music into their house and they can play it anytime they want. Where does this leave me as a musician? You know what I mean? But that change in technology actually created more work for musicians.
Yeah.
Now they're playing on records as well as playing live. I remember, I just distinctly remember standing in a record, in a music store when I was 13 and playing with a Linn drum and just going, well, that's it. This is the end of drummers.
Yeah, the drum machine.
There is literally no reason for a drummer now, and just leaving in high anxiety, because I was a drummer, what do I do now? Well, it didn't do that. It actually created more work for drummers because now you can integrate this with live drums and it became a thing. It just morphed into this thing. I think AI is probably. I did a session the other night with some unbelievable musicians, and they all at one point, there was 4 of them, and like 3 of the 4 of them came to me at some point during the night, during the session, and just kind of one-on-one said, "Man, we've been listening to Suno demos all night, trying to recreate these." And I think AI is going to kind of end up being this thing that's ubiquitous. We can all type our lyrics in there and it'll give us a song. I used to do this thing where I'd write songs for people for Christmas or birthdays or anniversaries or whatever. You could get a personal song from me. That part of my world is probably going to go away because now you can just do that with Suno.
Right.
And here, honey, I said these words into Suno, and this is what came back. I think it's going to be billions of those. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be billions of those. And that group of kids, those 22-year-old kids that are like blazing on stage, you're going to be able to tell the difference.
Oh yeah.
You're going to be able to go, "Oh, okay, that's a different thing." Yeah. Or that girl who can stand flat-footed and hit all the high notes and just like move you to tears, the Adeles of the world or whatever. You'll be able to go, "Okay, that's a different thing." No. And I think there will be differentiation, and I think AI will be a part of it. I think there will be hologram shows, and I think there's going to be a whole new group of people called prompters who know how to prompt AI to create certain things, and they will get artistic with it, and they will become artful with this. I see a whole world where like you could be like, I'm a professional prompter. Like I work for 4 different movie studios and I do, all the music prompts for, 4 TV shows or whatever.
Yeah.
And you just know how to take a scene and go, okay, well, what if we have a song that says this? And you prompt it and boom, it comes. And you put the parameters in and you know how to prompt it right. I think that'll be a whole thing. That'll be a whole profession. In and of itself. But we'll know the difference when we hear the real. At least I hope we do.
Again, I go back to even the real being the motivation of the song. What's the story behind it?
Right.
And if you guys listen to this, you've heard us mention the podcast before, Circling the Drain. I want to make sure those guys get their due because in this week that we're recording here, your episode came out for those guys where they do go deep into your story of one of your biggest hits happening on American Idol back in 2008 with Time of My Life. And the story behind that song, can AI conjure that up? You know what I mean? That was honestly a God thing, that whole story.
I've always said a huge brain put that together.
Yeah.
That's a bigger brain than mine. All I did was like do my little part of it. But
you were given the idea and you had the responsibility for it.
There you go. You took that from what my grandmother used to say.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
So, the other thing is I don't think we ever talked about those 5 years, but again, those of you listening, listen to that episode, go back to circlingthedrain.net. It's this probably 2 episodes ago by the time this episode comes out on my podcast. Listen, if you don't know Regie, listen to that story and then go listen to some of his music and make your decision.
Literally 0 people are going to do that, Jim. They're not.
We gotta be hopeful.
And dig through the second podcast.
Yeah.
Go to to like 10 minutes in, and
my 10 listeners will do what I say.
And then go click on every song on Regie. No, you are right about that. They should absolutely go listen to my Spotify. No, I'm kidding.
I don't think we've ever really. I've always wondered that 5-year. You literally went to China and you came back. What happened? Why did everything fall apart?
Dude, it was miraculous how it fell apart.
Yeah.
It was like everything that could have falling apart did. And I write about it in the book, Angels and Idols. I literally went from, dude, I was having a number one song every 6 months.
Yeah.
For 8 years, just every 6 months a dinger.
Back then, that was huge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we didn't the volume now. Some of these guys are having one every 2 weeks or whatever. But in those days, man, that was pretty amazing. And then left that, kind of springboarded off that right into writing and finishing American Dreams and getting it signed to Universal. And I'm like, at one point, I literally told a friend of mine, I'm like, dude, all I have to do is throw the bat out there and I hit it. Like I can't not, which is the worst thing you can tell some, what I mean? Like the pride going before the fall is perfect.
Like God going, what you just say?
What did I hear you? Did I hear you right? You did not just say that, So when I got back from China, it was 180 degrees, off that. And everything I did was and here's the thing, it was just a little off. Right. But I've always said, if you miss it by an inch, you miss it by a mile. One of the people that was in that session the other couple of nights ago was the artist, and she had been at a conference, at an artist conference. She said, I didn't really, she's an amateur singer-songwriter, but she said, I didn't really comprehend the level of high wire work it is when you're doing this professionally. And that is pretty accurate. And that's why I say, if you miss it by an inch, you miss it by a mile. It's not like, well, we got in the top 50, but we didn't get, that's just astronomically different than getting in the top 10.
Right.
And for you to continue to earn a living, you have to get in the top, the top tier and stay there.
Right.
On some level, whether that means, sales or your tour's got to work or something's got to work. And in those 5 years, man, like I would miss it just by an inch and it just wouldn't work.
Right.
Also, I was damaged goods by then because I had lost the big record deal, and people smell trouble, man. And they knew that most of the people knew, I think he's got like a daughter with a disability, and he's just gotten weird. And, okay, well, that's easy to walk away from. Like nobody, nobody's going to be like, man, let me sink $1 million into you.
Right.
And just chase this, nobody's going to do that. And I didn't expect them to, but I mean, I felt like every day something was going to happen. I worked with a Southern rock band called Smokey Lonesome, and I felt like that was going to happen. It did not. And it did not spectacularly. I wrote a bunch of songs, man, that I thought were, to this day, there's some of those songs that I wrote during that time that I just like, I still don't know why that's not a hit. That should have been a hit,
Are they on the Near Misses album?
Yeah. There's a few of them are.
Okay.
Yeah. And songs like Flicker and, Lonely Fall and some of this, I just like, in another world, in a parallel universe, that would work. But I think music was also changing a little bit, and I might have been just a shade, not behind or ahead, but like just to the left of,
right,
where it was. And then you had like the Big and Rich movement, like the Music Mafia thing that happened. And that changed kind of everything in Nashville for about 15 minutes,
yeah.
And so a certain kind of song was now not even like being looked at, and a certain kind of artist wasn't even that happened. That's a natural thing that happens.
Yeah. Because like my brother is I think I've told you about him before, 50 plus year piano player.
Yeah.
He's got his own thoughts and opinions about the music business. He and I talked a lot about this, bringing the notion of the story song back.
Yeah.
Tell stories within the song, like Kenny Rogers did, like Harry Chapin did,
right. Dan
Fogelberg, all these guys. It's like the new generation has no idea what it's missing.
It's funny because I love to watch these reaction videos of these young kids listening to what they consider ancient songs.
Right.
They were hits when I was their age.
Yeah.
And they're like blown away by them. And I'm like, well, I mean, dude, that was standard fare back then. That wasn't,
Well, what does that tell you?
Yeah, it definitely tells me that there's a whole, there's a whole meadow that they missed, in the cornfield. There's a whole segment of it that they didn't quite get.
Those who dictate what gets on the radio and stuff like that. It's like they're not even aware of the fatigue. Yeah, that the audience probably has.
Well, that's okay. That takes us right back to what we started with, where I talk about that thing, that radio thing, has been so ingrained in everybody,
right? Because that was how you discovered new music.
Yeah, where people, and I literally have seen TikTokers say, again, I am not trying to bash Taylor Swift. I actually think Taylor Swift is a great songwriter, but she's a symbol, and that's. For better or worse, you can't help it. She's a symbol of modern music. And when I hear someone say, well, she's the modern day Shakespeare, and I go, have you ever heard Carole King?
Right.
You know what I mean? She's the greatest female songwriter of all time. And I'm like, have you ever heard of Joni Mitchell?
Yeah.
You should go back and listen to Fleetwood Mac. And, that's taking nothing away from her. But it's like, what I want to say to the kids who think that is, man, you're just like, you've missed a whole bunch of stuff.
And it's amazing the tonalities and the themes that you hear into, like my kids listen to, your kids listen to music, I would imagine too. There's an artist named Conan Gray.
Yeah.
Who I swear is just listening to David Bowie hits and all these like Oingo Boingo and these types of artists. He's repurposing.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is, Tainted Love.
Right.
This is exactly the same cadence, the same tone, everything. Right. He's just reinventing it.
Right.
Like the 80s are kind of having a little bit of a highlight right now.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, there's definitely. And I will tell you, there's a lot of, if I may self-promote here, Kingdom's Fall was this way, was my last record, but definitely Beautiful Tragedy. There's a lot of like references to the 80s. I'm from there.
Yeah.
I'm from the 80s.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit more of a firsthand knowledge of that language, musical language, I think.
Yeah.
That in the 70s was where I really, that's where I got lit on fire musically.
Have you heard of Lefay?
I have not.
Oh man. This is something that all the kids are listening to. Let's see if I can pull her up. But she's like almost I'm no idea which one is the right one to click here, but interesting sound that's really resonating with the kids.
Don't you notice how I get quiet when there's
This girl from Impanema.
What's that?
This girl from Impanema.
Right.
You know what I mean?
What's the style of music though?
That's essentially a bossa nova.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's exactly. I was like, oh my, it's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah. And my daughter, who's 13, loves this.
Right.
It's freaking nuts. I'm like, dude, this is 1950s all over.
Of course.
Again.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I love that. I love it when those kinds of things happen.
Yeah.
But let's be clear, that's happened before.
It does. There's nothing new under the sun.
I think that's the thing where I go when kids think, like again, these reaction videos, it's like I'm discovering something. It's like, well,
no, you're not.
You're not really. You are.
Yeah, it's
but
funny.
we all heard this before, You've
heard me talk about the Pendulum book, which I'm pointing to over my shoulder here if you're watching us. It talks about all this stuff. I said, if we go in as to how I think we will, if you wanted to be a hit songwriter minus the AI, study what was popular in the late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah, 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
Yeah, 80 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Because we're going in the opposite direction right now.
Yeah.
It's...
Well,
it's really,
the 80s were 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a lot of people. I hear so many of those big choruses, and I love them, man.
Yeah.
They got me. Those big 80s choruses are kind of coming back, and the big obvious chorus, right? And I love that. I'm all in when I hear these kids doing that. I'm not a hater, man. By nature, I'm really not. I am such a live and let live, and I want to like it.
Yeah. I thought like I was like kind of getting cynical because I'm like, nothing's original anymore. And then I hear several years ago, the band Fun put out Some Nights.
Right.
Some Nights. And then it goes, whoa. and has that kind of like a marching snare drum.
Right.
And I did a post about it. I'm like, this is one of the most original pieces of music I have ever heard.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine who was my boss in my first radio station, he's like, this sounds like Down on the Schoolyard.
Yeah.
And I'm going, God dang it. He's right. It really does. And I'm like,
Well, it's hard to be completely original, man.
Right.
It's very difficult.
Right.
There's not anybody doing that. Everybody's trying to do, their version of something else. And hopefully it comes out. You take all of that and you put it in your brain and it comes out like you. That's right there is the AI problem.
Right.
See, Regie Hamm listens to music his whole life, plays music his whole life, learns music his whole life. And then he puts out this record, Beautiful Tragedy. And it's some of this and it's some of that. And it feels like this and it feels like that. But it's through the prism of an individual.
Yeah.
And where I wonder about AI is, what's the prism? Where's what prism are we squeezing this through? You know what I mean? When I hear Billy Joel sing Piano Man, I know what prism that you know why the microphone smells like a beer? Because he made it smell like a beer by drinking a freaking beer while he was playing it. That's the prism I'm seeing all this through. And I don't know what prism I'm seeing anything through on AI.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It comes back to what's the story behind, what's the inspiration, the motivation of why you wrote the song.
Right.
Because that's the personal story, and that's hopefully that's the human tie.
Right. That
is what you're talking about. Getting to Billy Joel, did you see his documentary?
Oh my gosh, I loved it.
Freaking amazing.
I binged it till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
It's like computer. How did you get your heart broke, computer?
Right.
Computer, did you robot? What happened when your father died, robot? What did you go through in high school, robot?
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no prism there. There's no vehicle. There's no individual there to give me that.
No pain.
Yeah.
There's except the robot. Do you ever see the robot that they have on? It comes up on my feeds every now and then. It's literally leaking oil, and it's doing everything it can to get the oil back in, and that's all it does. It's like almost this. It's a sad tragedy to watch.
Yeah.
It's just preventing its demise. That's all it does is constantly squeegee oil back into some pan that it just keeps on leaking
because it's programmed to continue to live. I mean, sometimes I feel like it's Westworld, man.
Right.
Sometimes, honestly, Jim, sometimes I wonder if we're not AI.
We're living in a simulation.
Like if someone came down and messed with us and programmed us a certain way, and we're actually AI, and now we are creating our own obsolescence. You know what I mean? We've discovered the own. It's like we stumbled on a way to kind of like make ourselves obsolete.
Well, that's like we talked about before we started recording this. John and we were talking before you arrived, and I said, he says, the only thing that AI cannot replace is food production. It still needs humans. And he went, I don't know, remember all the details of it, but he says everything else is going, building houses, the trades,
100%.
all that stuff.
Yeah. They're just going to 3D print houses. Right. That's happening.
But, he says the people who can repair robots, that's going to be an in-demand job.
Yeah. I mean, will it though?
Unless robots repair themselves. Yeah.
I guess my question is, once we're not here, do they keep going or do they just lie dormant? Lie dormant. You know what I mean? Like what's the prime directive for AI? That's what I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it to proliferate and to grow? And I mean, we know what our prime directive is. It's why pornography drives all technology because that drive is why sex sells because that drive is our prime directive. We are programmed to procreate and to keep the species going. But is AI that done? Is that anywhere in its prime directive? That I don't know.
The two outcomes that we basically discussed before you got here was John is like, look, it either leads us to our complete collapse of the human race, or, and I interrupted, I said, or we become Wall-E.
Yes. Yeah.
Everything's provided for us.
Yeah.
We just become fat and lazy.
We just become those heavy people sitting in chairs, having
can't
food
move.
put in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
so optimistic.
I refuse. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
With that,
I will tell you this. I personally won't go down that way. I refuse to become that.
Right.
And I think there are a lot of people out there who would refuse to become that. But I will tell you, I do live with an ominous cloud of anxiety over me all the time because I have dedicated I'm 58 years old, and for 40 plus years, have dedicated my entire existence to my art,
which takes anxiety.
And now, not only is there the basic anxiety that you constantly live with that anyway, of just trying to earn a living from that and resonate with people, and there's like a baseline anxiety of that. But now the cloud is even darker with this ominous, absolute existential anxiety. Like, oh, is the whole thing I dedicated my life to just going to go away now? Is it just going to? Because I might be able to write, Jim. I might be able to write 70 good songs a year. I mean, I can write 150, but they're not, if I write 150 songs next year, I can promise you they're not all going to be great songs. But let's say I can write 70 and maybe 30 of them will be top tier.
Right.
And maybe 3 to 10 of them will be, okay, that's great, right? I got there. And any songwriter will tell you that. But AI could write 1,000 songs today and probably approximate enough to get them in film and TV and even on the radio, or at least streamed where people go, oh, I like that.
Right.
And you can't compete with that. I can't, if it's about numbers, I've lost.
And the AI has the access to the depths of humanity throughout all history, connecting to the internet. Writings.
It does. But again, it's not an individual, and it can't give you that take.
Right.
Again, I go back to the line. I don't know that AI is ever going to, by itself, come up with a line like "our tongues were tired."
Right.
Because AI is never tired.
Right.
Its tongue is never tired. And
it's the personal story aspect is the one thing it won't be able to have.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about.
But is it, but do people care enough about lines like "our tongues were tired" to care? That's where I wonder. That's the thing I wonder.
Well, I mean, those are the ingredients that make a good song a great song, a legendary song.
In my estimation, yes, it resonates throughout time. Right. But yeah, so I kind of walk around with this cloud of high anxiety over my head, and I would say anybody like me who says they don't is lying to you.
Right.
Because we know what time it is. We all know what this thing can do. We've all seen it. If you have made a living writing pretty good songs, you are done.
Right. Right.
If you've never,
now it's time to start podcasting.
Yeah. If you have never gotten to a level where it's like, oh, that's a great song. That's something else. If you can't, if you're not doing that, AI has you.
Yeah.
And maybe even if you are doing that, AI might still be on your tail. So
everything that's been taught in college is under threat.
Yeah, but you don't learn how to write songs in college.
That's true. But I mean, even in the white collar space,
I think about that with my son, who's
in college,
and coding.
Where's he going?
He goes UTC, and he's coding, and he's like wants to get in that world and create games and that kind of thing. And I constantly ask him, like, "Are you worried about AI?" Because I am.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't seem to be worried about it. He seems to think. I don't know if he's convinced himself or if he's actually right about the fact that there are just some things AI won't ever be able to really do because it needs
Need someone to feed it.
It needs some human finesse.
Mm-hmm.
But I just worry that we get to a point where people can't tell the difference and they don't care.
I don't know about them not caring. I could see that next generation being one of the most cynical generations ever to come about.
You're not wrong about that.
Yeah, because I mean,
like my son's generation.
Yeah, my kids' generation. Yeah. They're not going to know what's true,
right?
What's real and what's human or fake. So right. I mean, that's they're and because of that, they're going to be very callous, very cynical. Their BS meters are going to be so far through the roof. I mean, so highly attuned.
Well, I'm almost that way, man. Like I see
Gen X was like that.
I see these Suno videos that come over where they've got Elvis singing some new song and cussing from the stage, and I'm like, that's not it. That's not Elvis. Right. You know, I'm immediately like, I'm starting to get. I can tell you immediately, almost immediately, when I'm seeing an AI video.
Yeah,
and it's very often it's just like there's just a.
There's a veneer to it.
Yeah, there's a weird veneer to it, man.
Yeah.
That's a great word. It's got a real strange veneer to it, and it's almost too perfectly set up. I've been
taken. My kids make fun of me before.
The little boy says the too perfect of a thing to the puppy. The puppy barks at just too perfect of a time. You know what I mean? It's just like, wow, that worked out really well. Yeah. Like I'm amazed that they caught that on camera. Oh, they didn't.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. There's that too.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're going to get into the world of AI influencers. That's coming down the pike too.
We're already there, man. Yeah. I'm telling you, we everything we think is about to happen, I'm sure is happening somewhere right now. It's some 13-year-old kid is doing it right now.
Yep.
You know. So, I mean, are we even real? Is this podcast even real? Have you listened to actual humans talking, or is this whole thing been generated by AI?
Well, if you watch this podcast, why in the hell would you make an AI version of this?
You look good, dude.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're riding your bike. You're trimming down. You look great.
Trying to.
Yeah.
But it's like I look at myself and I'm going, I see my dad, which is a bad thing, but it's like my dad's never been this heavy.
Oh, dude. I see my father. And I hear my father. That's the thing. I tell him all the time, like I open my mouth and Ron comes out, you know.
Your dad's still around, right?
My dad is doing great. And you guys should have him on a podcast.
Dude, I think,
now that guy has got stories. If you want stories, that guy's got stories.
You need to do your own damn podcast with your dad and your wife and everything.
We're going to. Yeah. My wife and I are actually, we've been threatening for years. I'm telling you, when people get a load of my wife, when they get to see my wife in action, I will immediately become Ricky Ricardo.
I'm telling you, man.
I promise you, she's the star of our family.
When you have those conversations, how can I help? I'd love to be a part of it because, I mean, you and I have been dancing around the topic of a podcast for years.
Well, we have. You're right.
And it's like, if just the mere idea of taking your blogs and just like, here's the blog, and now we're going to break it down to the podcast episode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's true. That's the thing, dude. Honestly, that's the thing that has been the bane of my existence is the ability to package all this stuff and market it and put it in, I'm people see me, I think even my wife to some degree, people see me as this very mild-mannered, kind of even-keeled guy who kind of sort of has it together. I have a image or a persona of someone who has it together.
Yeah.
I do not at all. And I'm like really more of an artist than people think. No, I've had to pull so much together, to be a dad and to be a caregiver to my daughter. And I'm kind of calling on all my left brain resources for that. But most of the time, dude, I'm kind of a mess. Like I still type my blogs on text edit. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And most of the time I don't know what I'm doing. Even when I've been recording since I was 10, I've been recording for almost 50 years. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing there. You know, it's like, well, I think this works. Let's try this. But I'm really more in the creative kind of headspace. And we need somebody in our life who is the kind of master and commander, who can kind of put it all together and figure it all out.
Head and heart.
And do what?
Head and heart.
Yeah.
Someone who's the head, someone who's the heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But as far as like star power, my wife is the one. My wife is so funny and so engaging, and so we are definitely. And we do lives. We do these Facebook lives, and we get thousands of views, and people just love her.
Yeah.
So we're going to turn that into a podcast for sure. And my dad, for no other reason that I just want to get all these stories that he has before he passes away one day,
right,
way in the distant future. But he's got such great stories. Oh my gosh.
Get him now. Because
I know.
My dad passed in 2006, and the only recorded memory of him, and he was really big on VHS. He was one of the first people to carry around a VCR.
Oh, wow.
The camera on his shoulder.
He was that
dad. Technology, he was always big on at the forefront of these different technologies that came out.
Yeah.
To the point where people thought he was from a TV station.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we have hours of footage that I don't know what happened to it. But one particular piece of footage was when I was 6 years old, my brother was 10. We called it the rocket launch video. And if you go watch Emerson Drive, A Good Man, which is a great song they put out in 2006 around that time, I made a memorial video for my dad where we use a lot of that rocket launch footage. And I basically made a music video out of it to that song. To the point where those guys actually said, you actually did a better job with the video than our guy did.
Oh, wow.
We wish we good job. It's still out on YouTube. You can find it. It's Justin J. McCarthy Memorial. And you can go watch it. It's the only video I have with his voice from at least that point in his life.
Right.
And that's the big part of why I do this podcast is that my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids, as long as there's an internet and a YouTube,
yes, they'll have access.
They're going to know who their great-grandfather is.
Well, that's honestly, dude, that's believe it or not, maybe the main reason I still make music.
Yeah.
Is because I want my son to have access to it, my future grandkids to have access to it. So you can know, hey, you know what? My grandfather was a songwriter. You want to know what he thought about in 2020? Check this out.
Yeah.
You want to know what he thought about in
your musings in your blog too.
Yeah, in the blog, and you can so that they'll get a sense of where we were, and maybe, as a history buff, I feel this sometimes, but maybe they won't feel so alone.
Right.
Because
that's the thing is that I never, like in some of the past 5 years of my life have been very tumultuous and almost similar and parallel to my dad going through life around the same age. Right. And it's like, with the kids getting older and remembering, like, seeing it through the lens of a teenager and what he was going through, just to be able to talk to him again, say, dude, what were you thinking at this time? Yes. I don't have that ability.
Right.
I have my father-in-law. He's wonderful, but it's not like we knew each other then.
Right. Right.
But my father-in-law probably has those stories. I'm like, look, you were 50 once too. Yeah. And all of a sudden everything you thought would be isn't.
Right.
What did you do? I'm sure it would be, I just did the next thing. That's probably the answer. But to hear that from the source and hear the emotion behind it would be just priceless to me.
Well, I think it's also a charge to people who create, to be honest, because when I like read history, see anything historical, any kind of historical videos or anything, the most priceless thing to me is when they're being really honest. And again, that's when I go, okay, well, I'm not alone in this.
Right.
People in 1940 felt this way. People in 1920 felt this way. People in 1780, you know what I mean?
Oh, gosh,
if they're being honest.
That's a whole set of, that's a whole other episode right there.
Yeah.
Talking about what people in that time era went through, and we think we have it rough.
Well, yeah,
that's a whole other episode.
No doubt about that. Yeah. But 100 years from now, I have to be as honest as I can in whatever it is I'm writing or, putting out, so that, somebody might look back one day and go, oh, well, listen to what this guy said 100 years ago. See if this doesn't ring true now, and hopefully we'll still be around as a species, for it to ring true. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where the faith comes in. for all of us.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We are in interesting times, though. We are in much more interesting times than some people think. I'm telling you.
I know.
We have created the beast that can end us. We have absolutely created it.
Yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It is definitely interesting times. And on that note,
thanks everybody for tuning
in. We sell ropes on the website that you can hang yourself with. Check us out at MMTBP.com. And of course, anybody that wants to contribute to the Beautiful Tragedy Kickstarter, RegieHamm.com.
You can just go to actually go to Kickstarter and 1G2Ms and it'll take you right there.
There you go.
Yep.
Of course, we'll put a link in the description for all that to make sure we give you a leg up and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Again, I implore you guys, go look him up on Spotify, listen to his songs. A lot of them that come up, first are probably good choices if you just want to sample a few and go from there. And again, mmtbp.com is how you follow us and subscribe and share the podcast with those who you think need to hear it. And I appreciate it. Man, as always, what a conversation.
It's always fun. Thanks for having me, Jim.